I remember the room spinning on me, and then the very next thing I remember, I was looking down and I was seeing this whole scene play out underneath me. This rookie medic, on his first week on the job, he felt this premonition, this one's not dead, and began trying to resuscitate the body. We're on Earth to learn that Earth has always been a school, and it's been always a classroom and never a courtroom.
Vinney, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Thank you so much, Guy. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm like you about, we were talking off air about going organic with a conversation and things. And I stumbled across you a few months ago and I was like, what? Like, it's just, it really made me stop in my tracks. And I purposely haven't researched much more because I want to continue that curiosity, that inquisitiveness in our conversation today. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and I deeply appreciate you and what you're doing and you coming on the podcast today. So first of all, thank you, my man.
Thank you, Guy. I love any opportunity I can to reach out to people, connect to their heart, connect to their core, their soul, and help uplift. That's my purpose. That's the reason I'm back here after my death.
Yeah. When I always ask this question, so before we get into your journey, your story, if you were, because you're in Vegas right now, right? And if somebody stopped you on the street and said, "What do you do for a living, mate?" Like, how would you answer that right now?
That's a very complex answer, as I know it is for you, because I do a lot. The number one thing that I tell people is I'm a light worker. I literally make a living helping amplify and build the light in others. And that looks like a very different thing for everybody. Every single one of the clients that I work with, and I work with people all over the world, literally all over the world. I help them amplify what they're doing and become a better version of themselves. That's it. And sometimes that's a housewife. Sometimes that's a multi-trillion-dollar corporation owner. So it's like, I work with the full gamut, and I love and prioritize all of them the same. They get 100% of me, and I'm able to really bring my experience to them in a way that they can connect to spirit, connect to higher purpose. And that's what I do, brother.
Yeah, incredible. That word light worker as well, and you said it means many different things to many different people.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to break that down, what does that mean to you?
To me,
everything that's going on in the planet with people.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the world that is, it feels like it's putting out the light. And so a light worker themselves is going and magnifying and brightening the light that's there. And in places that there is no light, we're essentially injecting the God spark or the source spark and bringing light into those dark corners of our soul, our existence. And it's a beautiful thing when you can watch someone bring some light to their shadows, and the shadows disappear. You can shake hands with the shadows, hug them, embrace them, figure out why they're there, and really move beyond kind of some traumas that we allow ourselves to have when we bring light to them. So essentially that's one aspect of it. But there's, it's all about bringing that love energy into the world, into the universe.
Do you feel it's possible for all to bring that light into the shadows?
So when you learn the power of the yin and the yang, that even the darkest night of the soul still has the moon, and every brightest day still has the shadow. So there's strength in knowing that even some of the darkest of us, there's a core of light deep within there that we can activate, magnify, and release, let out to the world.
Because it can, when you're in it, it can quite often never feel that it's possible, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. When you're inside your own meat suit, trying to figure this stuff out, it can sometimes seem very self-defeating or almost like there's no hope. But that's what light is. It's hope. It's bringing hope and activating hope in our lives.
Yeah. Were you, leaning back into your past before your experience, and which we'll get into in a moment, were you religious? Were you atheist? Were you like,
I
what was your
was
background?
I was raised Christian. I was raised in a kind of a very strong Christian home. I would say strict, a very strict Christian home. And I had my own rebellion with that. I was on my path of kind of rediscovering my faith in God when I had my experience. But I was definitely the background of Christian for sure. I was raised Christian.
Yeah, gotcha. And how old were you at the time when it
I
all
was
started to?
25 years old. So 25 years. And it's been 20 years now since the experience, but I've been talking about it for a long time to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm another one. Yeah. So what were you doing as in for your job, your career at that point? Because obviously your life looks very different now, 20 years on now.
Yeah. So back then I used to do a lot of construction. I did
Uh-huh.
have a short stint for a few years as a producer, or I helped produce a TV show here in the United States with a company called Caroline Productions. So it was really fun. It was a major TV. I also did some major motion pictures. So to a 25-year-old kid, I thought I was hot stuff. I was an amateur bodybuilder. I kind of let ego rule my day, or kind of let my self value system essentially eclipse around my ego. Yeah, back then, that's who I was back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. It's very common at 25 years old, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
and I was
So
invincible too. I thought I was invincible when I was 25. Yeah,
yeah, it's funny, hey. So let's lean into what happened then, because you mentioned you were an amateur bodybuilder, and I believe there was something that happened around that in a restaurant or
yeah.
with you.
What happened was I took a, a supplement. It was very popular at the time. It would help your muscle recovery. It would make the muscle recovery happen almost twice as quick as normal. So if you were, a bodybuilder, you could work out your arms every day or your chest every day. You didn't have to alternate days. And in doing that, it was so popular we couldn't find it at any of the local stores anymore. So, me and my buddy, we went online. We bought some from Thailand, and what we didn't know though is the liquid supplement we were getting in the United States was only a 5% pure solution. It was 95% water. And the solution we got from Thailand was 100% solution. So when we took our little liquid bottle cap of this supplement, it was like taking 20 bottle caps of the American stuff. So it quite toxic right from the get go. Yeah. And that's how it all started.
So were you taking it on multiple days before you collapsed in the restaurant, or was
No,
it just the
so
once?
we'd been taking it for over a year now. When it was
Oh wow.
but we weren't taking the Thailand stuff. This was our first time trying the Thailand stuff. Yeah,
Wow. So what happened? Did your heart stop? Was there
yeah. It essentially it had in that type of strength. It had like a sedative effect where it essentially would slow down the heart and stop it. But before the heart could even stop, I passed out in the bathroom of a restaurant. And then I started to aspirate. So I started to vomit and breathe in my vomit. And that's what ended up killing me. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you last remember then? Was
I,
it?
I remember the room spinning on me. And then the very next thing I remember, I was looking down and I was seeing this whole scene play out underneath me. And I was watching my buddy actually collapse on this booth over to my left. He collapsed on it and started to vomit himself. The manager of the restaurant
Holy
called
shit.
and they actually took him away in an ambulance. But meanwhile, I was seeing this other guy in the bathroom, but it wasn't me because me was up here watching everything. So to me, it was not possible that what I was seeing was me. It had to be somebody else. Even somebody who kind of looked like me, but it wasn't me because me was again up here watching. And I watched this dead guy. I saw him, I actually saw him, like shudder a little bit and then nothing. And I knew he was dead. I knew he was dead. About 45 minutes later, even though it's hard to tell time when, from that perspective, because there is no time. If it seemed like a long time later, this customer in the restaurant complained that he needed to use the restroom. He needed to use the WC. So he went ahead and asked the manager to unlock it, and he unlocked it and found this dead body there. And that's when they made a second phone call for that day. They called
so
emergency
the ambulance
services.
came. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
The ambulance came, got your mate, left, and had no idea you were in the bathroom.
No idea. Nobody saw us come in together. I had come in so fast, I went straight into the bathroom right then. Yeah. But yeah, so they found me, and a second team of emergency services came, and they pronounced the body dead. They bagged it up, put it in the back of the ambulance, and they took it to go turn it into the medical examiner for an autopsy. And when they were on their way, this rookie medic, on his first week on the job, he felt this premonition. He felt this message delivered to him that this one's not dead. So he went ahead and began trying to resuscitate the body.
Wow. So were you witnessing all of this?
I was.
As well?
I was. In fact, I could even see him, the rookie medic. I saw him receive the message. I actually saw him when he received the message that this one's not dead. And he went ahead and acted on that and broke protocol, which could have gotten him fired. And he got the heart to start back up after 3 rounds of shocks.
Wow. And at this point, did you realize that was you in the body bag? Did it?
No, still didn't realize it was me, as they transferred the body from right when the heart started, they were just down the street from a hospital. So they were able to take the body directly to the hospital. They were transferring it from the medical gurney, the bed from the ambulance. They were transferring it from that onto the hospital bed. And as they did that, they had to strap the body down for different reasons. And so I felt as if someone was strapping me down. And that was the first idea that what I'd been watching was my own death. And at that point, it actually got very dark and scary for me, because now this wasn't just some type of weird movie. This was a real thing. And I just watched my own death. And bigger than that, I watched them revive my body. And so, I started to really kind of spiral into this fear zone, or this place of fear. And as I did, I had like the life review where I got to see the not good things that I did in my life. I got to see the bad things I did in my life. And after I was done with that, I got to see the good things that I did in my life. And I saw that I did far more good than I did bad. But I still felt like it wasn't good enough. And that's when this warmth and this light, this love, it started to pour over me, as if someone poured it on my back, like a pitcher of warm water on my back. And I felt this warmth just spread over me. And as it did, I recognized that it was coming from behind me. So I turned around and I saw this gentleman. He was all dressed in white, had a long white beard. And my first thought was, you must be God. And his answer was, no, son, I'm not God. My name's Drake, and I'm here to be your guide. I'm here to help you go wherever you want to go. And he helped me understand that I could go back to my body. And he motioned like, you could go back to your body. And I looked at the body, and I didn't want that. It looked like pain. It looked like hell to me. And he said, or I can take you anywhere you want to go in the universe. And so I explained to him that I could feel this tremendous power coming from him, and it felt like love. And I said, I want to go wherever that's coming from. And that's when he explained that it was coming from my home, where I originally came from, and that he'd love to take me there. So we began the process. We began this journey of heading home, heading to this place that he called home. Most of us here call it heaven, but it's the same thing, same place.
Oh, okay. I wasn't quite expecting that. Actually, I didn't know what I was expecting. So just bearing the listeners in mind as well, when that was all going on all the way up till you met your guide, how real was it? Because obviously
it felt more real than this. It felt more real than what I'm experiencing now. And it was because I felt more alive, in the spirit body or the energetic body that I was after I was outside my body. It's more alive than the meat suit, than this suit of flesh that we drive around while we're here. It felt very much alive, more alive than this.
Yeah, because I have a hard time explaining it to people sometimes if I get nudged in that direction in conversation.
It's kind of like after you've had a really good workout, or if you've played rugby or you've played football or soccer, when you get done with a really good match and you feel like you gave it your all, that powerful feeling afterwards, that's what it feels like. That's a little bit of a glimmer of what it feels like to be over on the other side, but it's constant. When, in this life, when we feel that experience, it's only for, 30 minutes or an hour. Whereas over on that side of things, it's consistent and constant. It's part of who you are. Yeah.
Wow. And you touched on the life review once you started to realize what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that's something that happens to us all? Is it
Yes.
something that
it'll happen
because it brings up a lot of emotions? It's like,
it does.
Should we fear it?
We shouldn't fear it. And here's the reason we shouldn't fear it is because it's delivered to us with so much love and grace that there's no way to earn your way into heaven, no matter what religion or church is going to try to teach you. We could be the most amazing person in this world, and we still would not be earning enough of that positive energy to get there. We get there because of love. We get there because of grace, and the work we do just makes it even better. It does. So we don't need to fear it. In fact, to me, I just really flow into it. I embrace it.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So you experienced the life review, and how long did that feel like at that moment?
It actually only felt like a couple of moments. Like it didn't feel very long at all. It felt very quick. You could say, was it 20 minutes? I'd say maybe less. It didn't feel like much. It felt like it went all very quick.
Yeah. And then when the guide said, well, let me show you, I want to go where that feeling is, when you said you had the opportunity. So what happened then? Is that what you did? You went?
Yeah. So from there I went and I started following him. He helped me understand though, that this wasn't going to be just a traveling of distance, that this was going to actually be a traveling of frequency or love energy. And that as I would want to move towards the heaven space, I was going to have to raise my love energy to get there. And so I would be moving from point A to point B, but at the same time, point B was a higher love energy. And so I'd have to, raise that love energy to go along with him.
Wow. And you did? Did you?
Yes. Yeah. Step by step I did. It wasn't something like, I'm like, okay, let's do it. I've thought that, being raised Christian, that there was this special back door or this special front door in heaven for the Christians, and that just point me to the right door, I'll just go in heaven, And he kind of chuckled at that, and he lovingly explained to me that it's much more than that. It's much more than that for us. That we really have to embody the energy of heaven before we can allow ourselves in there. Otherwise, we can't exist at that level of love.
Wow. So is this all still happening as when you were getting the CPR from the gentleman?
So this is all happening while I'm in a coma. I was brain dead in a coma for 3 days. And that was the time that I was off journeying, taking my journey to heaven and back. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I'm just getting my facts straight then. So you were CPR, the gentleman had that intuitive insight to actually do CPR, and you brought your heart back alive. And then they transferred you because you were in the coma. Or was there an induced coma? Or I'm standing here right now in Lake Taupo in a beautiful retreat space. And there's a vast difference between an intellectual experience and passive listening to a fully embodied lived experience. Because that's what retreats can do. They can help you land, start to truly reconnect to yourself, to others, to nature, and to spirit as well. There's so much in it. That's why we created Live in Flow, and that's why we are so passionate about getting this work out there and bringing people together. If you want to find out more when our next retreat or event is coming up, just check out the link below. And now, back to the podcast.
So in the beginning, it was induced, but I wasn't pulling out of it. They were worried about what the chemicals were going to do. They knew I was poisoned because, my best friend had just come in the hospital. So they kind of put two and two together. He was in the same hospital. So they kind of knew that here's another one, same thing that this other guy had. So in the beginning, because there was some swelling and I had actually gone into seizures. So I think it was self-induced in the beginning. But after they were pulling it back, I was staying in that coma for 3 full days.
Wow. And how was your friend, just by the way?
He was fine, actually. He did end up spending the night in the hospital, but they pumped his stomach and they were able to get him full of charcoal. And that charcoal counteracted a lot of the effects of what was going on. So he ended up being okay. They did have to do some treatment just overnight, but they released him the next morning. Yeah.
Got you. So during the time then you were in the coma for the 3 days and you were having these experiences, and I'm assuming you lost track of all time at this point now.
I did. Yeah. Really, and to me, time kind of stood still. And that's when I realized that time is something that only exists on Earth, where there's gravity and where there's Earth in Earth school. That's where we have time. Outside of that, we don't really have time.
Gotcha. So what did you continue to learn then as you were embracing these higher levels of love, of vibration?
I had to climb this love ladder, and this love ladder essentially had 10 principles on it. And it's weird because I didn't realize it was 10 principles until we actually wrote the story, wrote my experience into a book. We realized there was like 10 very distinct principles, but the first 3 things I had to learn was that authenticity was the most important thing for me, and that I couldn't actually grow. I couldn't even direct myself towards heaven until I could figure out who I really was. So authenticity was number 1. And then number 2, I had to understand the purpose why I was even on Earth. And the purpose is that we're on Earth to learn. That Earth has always been a school, and it's been a classroom, always a classroom and never a courtroom. And that was a big deal for me. And then I had to go to the 3rd rung, which is love. I had to understand that love was the strongest force in the universe, that love is the energy that created the universe, and it's the energy that holds it together and makes it function, makes it run. And that if I could really learn that love and embody that love and love everyone, then I could love God. I could love Source. I could love my Creator. Yeah.
Wow. Can we just touch on the other principles?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So then, principle number 4 is listen to your inner voice. All of us have this voice inside of us, and part of that growth is to recognize that inner voice is there. And then, that's number 4, but number 5 is using technology responsibly. So learning that technology can turn off the inner voice if you let it. So you need to make sure that you're using technology responsibly. And I learned a principle that I call the hour of power. And that's the first 30 minutes when you wake up and the last 30 minutes before you go to bed. That it's very important that you put positive things in those windows. And if you put positive things in those windows, that hour of power, you're going to create a positive situation for you, a positive energy around you. And it's going to be very powerful for you as an individual. And then it led me to principle number 6, which is release all prejudice, which for me, that was actually kind of hard because I didn't feel I had any prejudice. I really didn't feel I had any prejudice whatsoever. I was raised in a biracial family, so I didn't feel that prejudice or chauvinism or any of that was a part of me. And that's when Drake, my guide, he said, I know that you don't think you're prejudiced, but what do you think about prejudiced people? And I was like, oh, I hate prejudiced people. They're horrible. Like, can you believe how ignorant that they are, that they can't see that all life matters? And that's when Drake caught me off guard and said, well, do you recognize that by you hating prejudiced people, you have become prejudice? And it was like earth shattering for me. That was a major wake up for me. And that was just number 6, which led me to the number 7, which is understanding the power of creation. And where we create it begins with our thoughts, that what we think we can create, what we think we will create. So if we think good things and we constantly seek after thinking good things, we will achieve and we will create good things. But at the same rate, if we think negative things or we worry about things, we will actually create negative or create situations that we need to worry about. So it's important that we understand the power of creation. And that led me to principle number 8, which is avoiding negative influences. And, right there, understanding the power of our thoughts. How important is it for us to recognize when there is a negative influence and to avoid it and to seek out positive influences? And that leads me to number 9, which there's purpose even in evil. That for us to be able to come to Earth School to make choices, there has to be a good choice and a bad choice. There has to be. And so there has to be evil. It's part of the process of being able to make decisions and choose good. We have to have bad. And so there's even purpose even in the darkness that's on earth. And then the last principle, the most important one, I think, to me, is understanding that all of us, all of creation, and I include animals with that and plants and all life, that all of creation, we're all extensions of our Creator, all of it. And that for us to hate or to harm or to hurt another creation, it is to hate, to harm, or to hurt ourselves and God, our source creator. So to me, it's important for us to embody that if we can love, support, and serve each other, we're loving, we're supporting, and we're serving our creator. And that was it. That was the 10 principles. By then, I actually was able to experience this heaven space. And I was able to touch down and actually feel heaven, feel this real place. And it is a real place. Everything there glows. Everything there has light within it. Whereas, the way we experience trees and grass and everything here on earth, there's an outside light source that lightens the item, and that's how we see it. But there, the light source is inside the item, inside the being, inside the creation. And so the trees emit light. The grass emits light. The water emits light. So everything there has light inside of it. It's really beautiful. And it's millions of colors that we don't have here on earth. And that's just the colors of the grass. There's even so much more when it comes to the trees and to the flowers and to the water and the sky. Just everything there is so much more vibrant. And what you realize is Earth itself is kind of like a really miniaturized copy of heaven. And on our best day, Earth is beautiful, but heaven is so much more real and beautiful than Earth can ever be.
Wow. That's just fascinating. Listening to, so it's literally you went somewhere, like you said, you touched down, like it was a planet, or
it's a real place. It's a real place that exists, and it's a real place where there's creation, there's power, there's solace, it's a place where we can go and cure ourselves and clean ourselves of earth and the effects of earth. At the same time, we can learn there, we can grow there. And we can get ready for whatever's next for us. Because we live eternally. So we live eternally before Earth School, and we live eternally after Earth School. So there's a lot of life after Earth School even. Yeah.
So there's a lot of layers. So you're saying
so many layers,
so there could well be another layer after that. It's like
so many layers. Yeah.
Wow, it's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it?
It is. It's because we have this human brain. And the brain tries to think with lines and borders and with limitations. But in heaven, there is no limitations. There is no borders.
How long were you there for then? Or did
So
it feel like, I know time's not a concept,
yeah,
but
to me, it only felt like a few minutes. It only felt like maybe an hour at the most, that I actually got to be in heaven and experiencing heaven. And as I was experiencing it all, Drake, my guide, he actually came around to the front of me and he looked at me in the eyes and he said this very important message to me that he said, Vinny, he said, this is going to be really hard, but it's going to be worth it. And as he said that, he like came together and hugged me. And this hug is so much more than what we can experience here. You know, when his energy came together with my energy, we became one for a moment. And as we became one, we became extremely powerful, like very, very powerful, way more powerful than you could ever be as an individual. And I learned that there was a divine principle there, that when we come together in the light of God, the light of source, the light of our creator, we become profoundly more powerful than we can ever be on our own. And as that was happening, as this hug was being experienced by me, I started to hear this special prayer. This special prayer was being given to my body back here on earth. And it was my brother. My brother was giving me this special prayer. And as he ended the prayer, I felt as if I was yanked, I was pulled out of heaven, and I was forced back into my body. And I ended up waking up at 1:11 in the morning. No one was in my room, not my brother, nobody. He had said that prayer a couple of hours earlier. I woke up. I took everything off of me. I was totally fine. I took the breathing tubes out of me. If you go to my website or you look at the back of my book, you can see my life support photos of me when I was on life support. But you can see that there's all sorts of tubes and diodes and all sorts of wires coming out of me. I pulled everything off, everything. I didn't want anything touching me. I felt extremely claustrophobic because I didn't realize that our spirit, our soul, is much, much larger than our physical body here.
mm-hmm.
And even though that's hard for us to understand, it felt as if I was like a blue whale or a killer whale, and I was shoved down into like a sardine can. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was shoved down into this little tiny body to come back to earth. And so I was extremely claustrophobic. I wanted to leave. I wanted to go home, and the nurses wouldn't let me. I was going to just leave, but I felt bad. The nurses would get in trouble if I just escaped. So I stayed and I signed all the paperwork. It took me about 6 hours of paperwork. And I'm not kidding. It was like on the dot, almost exactly 6 hours. I had to sign off on cardiology and neurology. I had to sign off all these different departments. They had to give me the clearance to allow me myself to check myself out. And nobody wanted to allow that. They wanted to interview me and test me and interview me and test me. They did a whole battery of tests, and none of them said that I needed to stay. So it allowed me to leave. I woke up at 1:11 in the morning and I checked myself out at 7:30 that morning.
Yeah, I just realized 1:11. So what was the conversation and diagnosis with the doctors and family during those 3 days of you? Were they hopeful? Were they writing you off?
The doctors were saying that after the second day of no brain activity, they felt as if that I wasn't going to pull out. They had actually given my brother this pamphlet. It was like a little pamphlet for someone who is in type of a hospice situation. It wasn't hospice though. It was something for a patient that was in a coma for a long period of time. So my brother, he had told me, and he had actually showed me this little pamphlet back then, that this was a reality at the time. He didn't quite think it was real though himself. He felt that somehow I was going to pull through, and I ended up doing it, because of his prayer for sure.
Wow. So what do you do with that? When you wake up and you've just had that experience?
Well, at first I thought I was crazy. I really did. I could see spirits. I could hear spirits
Really?
and I never had that before. I never had that before. So right from the get go, I thought, something's wrong. And I had this one, I had a doctor who told me, he said, Vinney, because your brain was starved of oxygen for so long, and then you were in a coma, your brain is going to use your imagination to fill in the gaps. So he warned me, he said, be very leery of what comes up in your memory and don't think it's real. He told me that. And so
Wow.
me having all this experience, and now I'm seeing spirits and I'm talking to ghosts, and I'm thinking, this is not normal. I feel crazy. I went and sought some professional help. And while I was seeking that professional help, I had a spirit come forward and tell me that I needed to deliver this message to this doctor that I was dealing with. And so I delivered the message, and it freaked the doctor out. He kicked me out of his office and said, get the hell out of here. On my way home, he called me and he apologized. He said that whatever I was experiencing had to be real because the message I had delivered was something even he had forgotten. And it was something he had never shared with a single soul in his entire life. And there was only one person in his entire life that could have known what I had said, and that was his grandmother. And that's who I was talking to. So from that point forward, I thought there had to be something there, something to this. And fast forward 7 months later, I was in this little town in Wyoming watching this presentation at a high school. And up on the big screen in the high school, I see this picture of this man. And my wife, she kind of shook me. She was like, that's your guide. And when I looked up at it, I froze. It was my guide. It was Drake. And the hard part was it didn't say his name was Drake. It said his name was Charles. But I recognized the last name as my grandmother's last name. So we went straight to my grandmother's house, and I asked her, I said, grandmother, can you tell me about this Charles Kazare? And her exact response was, oh, you mean great grandpa Drake? He's kind of famous in our family. And so it was really neat to now have a second confirmation that my brain, it couldn't have made up this image of someone who is related to me, who ends up being my great, great, great grandfather on my grandmother's side. And I had never seen his picture before, never heard his name before. And yet I was able to have this experience with him. So to me, it was just a second confirmation. It was confirmation that what I had experienced was real, and that this was hard to understand for sure, but it was real, and I needed to trust that. And so that's what I've been doing now for 20 years is, leaning into that and trusting what Spirit tells me to do, and I follow it. Yeah.
Wow.
Even when it gets me in trouble sometimes.
Is that how the book came out and everything? Is that from listening and just following that voice?
Yeah, they told me right after the experience happened, they told me I was going to teach people about my experience. But not to try to teach them anything, just so that they could understand that there's a lot more to this life than what we can understand. And that's really all I've ever done. I'm not out there saying that my experience is going to be everybody's experience. But what I am out there saying is there's so much more to this life than what we can understand. And even when you get into the physical properties of light and the amount of light that our eyes can perceive, our eyes can only perceive a very small sliver of the actual realm of light. That means even within this world, our world, Earth School, there's a lot that we can't even see because our eyes are not tuned into seeing it. So, there is so much more to this life than what we could know. I do know there's a real heaven. I do know that we can go there and we can have fun there and really heal ourselves there from this Earth School. And not just that, we can learn and get ourselves ready for whatever's next on our journey. It's a beautiful thing, and the entire process is so surrounded by love. It's so full of love for us. The whole universe looks at us, all of us on Earth School, as very precious, and in fact, they refer to us as divine masterworks. That every single one of us, even with our imperfections, we are divine masterworks. Every single one of us.
Yeah, beautiful. No, that's why I feel these conversations are so important, because from where I'm sitting, there's definitely more to it than what meets the eye too.
There is.
There is. And when I hear you share what you shared, even though my experiences are very different, they're still my experiences.
Yes.
And there's a tangible, relatable theme to so many people I've spoken to.
Yes.
You know,
and it's really neat. You know, over the years, I've connected with a lot of people, hundreds, who have had near-death experiences, and so much of what my experience is kind of what they experienced in their own version. But what's really beautiful about it is, you know, now I know hundreds of people that have had these experiences. Either they've actually died and had the experience, or they almost died and had the experience. But it's a beautiful thing to know that life force, that energy continues. But, you know, physics, we know that you can't destroy energy. You can't. You know, physics teaches us that energy can only change from form to form to form. That means whatever energy it is that is our soul, it continues on eternally. You can't distinguish it. You can't burn it out. You can only change it from form to form to form. Yeah. It can't be destroyed.
Exactly. Neither created nor destroyed. Yeah. Just from one form to the other. No, I feel blessed that I haven't had to nearly die to have, even though it did feel like that when the Kundalini arose in me. It was the egoic structure. It's all those aspects that cling on for dear life. And then it's the resistance to that. It was creating a lot.
That can be hard. I mean, it can be really hard. To me, the ego, or the egoic structure that imprisons most of us, it's an acronym for edging God out, or edging good out. You know, we don't have to let ego imprison us. We can let love and service and caring about others really open us up and amplify how we live. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ponder upon why this happened, why you were blessed to have this experience?
All the time. You know, after it happened to me, I was really suicidal until I met my wife. I had a hard time with all of this. I did.
Yeah.
But once I met her, I could tell that she was my gift. She was my gift from heaven to help me want to stay here. And that's what she's done. And she's done that for me and continues to do that for me. She's my little slice of heaven.
Beautiful. The power of connection right there, right?
Yes. Extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm thinking about the principles that you spoke about, and obviously you see a lot of people, and we don't all have these insights, and whether we should or shouldn't, or, you know, we're all on our own individual journey. And I think comparison can come in, and, oh, why is this happening to him? And that's actually bringing up the judgments like you spoke about. That's bringing up bringing it back to principle number one, which resonates: authenticity, being authentic. Why do you feel that we actually struggle to own that within ourselves?
Well, it's really funny, because the most authentic people in this life are the very, very young, or the very, very old, or the newlyweds. Like, when someone gets into a new relationship, they end up allowing themselves to be vulnerable and authentic in the beginning. But not everybody, but some people. So to me, it's always, you know, the very young, the newlywed, or the nearly dead, that's where we allow authenticity. And we can learn from that. We can choose to be like a child and love like a child and be innocent like a child, but at the same time, allow ourselves real world smarts. We can allow that vulnerability, because when we allow vulnerability, that's when we allow growth. If there is no vulnerability, there is no growth. And we can gut check that. If we're not having vulnerability, we're not having growth. Yeah. And that's where we become authentic. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you really feel like that is for anyone listening today, it's almost like that's the foundation.
It is.
That lead into everything else.
If you can't have authenticity, you have nowhere to leap from or to build off of. It's from authentic nature that you build. Because here's the thing: anything you build that's not authentic, it will collapse. Eventually it will collapse. And so that authenticity is paramount to the foundation of our growth as a spiritual being, and as a soul.
Yeah, because then that feeds into the words you use, the actions you take,
Yes. Yep.
everywhere you go, you take yourself, right?
You do. Absolutely, you do.
Yeah. Do you feel as well then that these things are pre-planned, these experiences,
I
and
get this one quite a bit. I get this question
do
quite a
you?
bit. Is it pre-planned? Yes, but is there free agency where we could mess up the pre-planning? Yes, but here's the funny thing: our source, our creator, knows us so well that the planning plays along with our free agency. Even our free agency is forecast essentially because we're so well known by our creator. So yes, it is pre-planned, and yes, there is free agency, so that we're not locked into some destiny that our
Hmm.
choices can't change. Our choices can always change whatever we're locking ourselves into. And that's the power of choice. I love that about this life. We can make some good choices and really turn some things around for ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, what do you feel is going on the planet right now? Like there's been a lot of turmoil, ups, downs. It's
Mm-hmm.
like we lifted the rug up on a lot of things, even.
Well, the whole solar system is on a trajectory of raising the love energy, the entire solar
Huh.
system, not just the planet. And part of, one of the symptoms of that is this, what people would call global warming. But if you look, it's not global warming, it's solar system warming. The entire solar system is warming. Go look it up. All the planets are warming, not just Earth. So to me, there's something bigger playing along here. And to me, I also know that there is a pre-planned trajectory to Earth School, and that it automatically upgrades whether we do or not. So, as the Earth goes into this new phase where it is going to be upgrading, it's important for us to upgrade with the Earth. If we don't, we're not going to synchronize with the Earth. We're going to end up dying. We're going to end up dying of, strokes, heart attacks, all sorts of health issues, because that's the way, if you're not matching the frequency, that's the way you go. You go to heaven where you can match the frequency.
Wow. And that frequency being love. So
Love. It's that love energy. Yep.
why do we fear it so much then? Like
Because it's vulnerability. Love is
back to
also
vulnerability.
vulnerability. And we think that somehow to be vulnerable is to invite weakness, but it's the exact opposite. Only somebody who's strong,
Right.
only somebody who's strong can open up to vulnerability. That's a big
Yeah.
one.
I couldn't agree more. Like I grew up in the valleys of Wales, right? And
Hmm.
from the age of 6, I was playing rugby
Yeah.
union. I don't know if you're familiar with the sport.
Oh,
It's
I love rugby.
very.
So that's how I got this big second eyebrow right there as a headbutt.
There you go.
I was playing college rugby. Yeah.
So you understand the physicality of it. I mean, the Rugby
Yes.
World Cup's going on as we speak, which I'm
Yeah,
very
exactly.
excited about. But
Go
but
All Blacks. Just
that
kidding.
yeah, go
I love
Wales.
the All
I
Blacks.
know. Yeah, who doesn't? They're
I know.
amazing.
If you love rugby, you have to
Um,
love the All Blacks. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Huge respect for them. Yeah. On a side note, I had the pleasure of working with Sonny Bill Williams on a couple of
Oh, wow.
random
That's awesome.
days, and and he was just one of the most beautiful, humble human beings
Yeah.
I've ever met.
And it's funny, some of the biggest monsters in the rugby field are some of the biggest teddy bears off the field, you know?
That's right. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, totally. And that's the point I was trying to make is like, growing up, it was all about physicality and I didn't understand my emotions. I didn't know how to channel my energy or anything. I
How to
didn't have
process it.
really
Yeah.
how to process it all, and thank God that I kind of found myself and lent into this kind
Yeah.
of work and conversations and to do what I do now, because I was on a building site playing rugby
Yeah.
and
That was me.
it.
I was channeling my
Yeah.
anger and my frustration into my rugby. So I was actually quite a good player, but my anger made it so I was inconsistent. I wasn't able to have the consistency as some of the other more level-headed players. I could really turn up the strength, allowing myself to channel that anger and frustration. But it wasn't a healthy way of dealing with it. And I'm so grateful that I learned to be vulnerable and to allow myself to feel anger and pain, because that's where
Mhm.
I do grow. That's where I grow.
Yeah. What would your advice be to any men listening to this today, then, after what we've been talking about right now? Because I would imagine about 30% would be male listeners. They're obviously.
I would say this, that it's okay to not be okay. Too many people are putting on their social media that everything is great. And then you find out later the same person that lives in the mansion, drives the sports cars, that he goes and kills himself because, just because everything on the outside world looks great. It's the inside world that matters. So start taking care of inside. Start doing and honoring inside, honoring the emotions and the growth, the vulnerability. And as you do that, you can gain things that are better than mansions and better than cars. You get to gain growth that you get to take with you beyond this life. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, amen to that. And just going back to everything we covered, have you had any other similar experiences like that, out of body, or?
I have. So since then, I've really dove into meditation and into Kundalini. I've dove into the energy work, and as I've done it, I've had other experiences. And when you get really good at meditating, you can allow your consciousness to go back to that heaven space and visit. And it's such a beautiful experience, even as a visitor, even while I'm here, but allowing my consciousness there to visit. I can get answers to questions I have here. It's such a beautiful thing.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. Mate, last question for you. I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
With everything we've covered today, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners to ponder on?
Recognize this, that to the whole universe, you're a divine masterwork. You're extremely precious to the Creator, and that you shouldn't downgrade yourself or put yourself down, even when you know you have weaknesses. Embrace your weaknesses and dive into them and turn them into strengths. Allow yourself vulnerability so that you can grow. And as you do, you're going to find real, authentic relationships, real, authentic beings who are there to support you and part of your soul group. And that's what we're here to do, is find your soul group, start growing with them and building with them. And the future is ours. It really is. Our generations right now, the whole future is ours. We get to build this. And it's up to us to tear down the old houses of cards and exit the glass houses and start building an authentic, solid structure of true value and love. And that's where you're going to find happiness that this world can't deliver, that only being authentic and connecting to source creator can actually build. Yeah. And I love you guys. Beautiful. I love you all.
Beautiful, man. Good on you, Vinney. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One thing is done is when you find that peace within yourself, it's you don't search.
It's invaluable.
External.
It's invaluable, right? It's not something you need to drink something to get. It's not something you need to smoke something to get. It's something you own every second of the day, and you get to grab it and dive into it when you want. It's so amazing. It's not some outside stimuli. Yeah.
Yeah. Vinney, thank you so much, mate. You're a bloody legend.
Thank you, Guy. You're a legend yourself, brother. Yeah.
Where can I send everyone if they want to find out more about you, your work, reach out?
So I've got a nonprofit that I run. It's called Living God's Light. Yeah, so livinggodslight.com. And then, of course, my book, it's called The Light After Death. They can find it through my nonprofit. They can also find it on Amazon and Audible. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Do you work one-on-one with people at all and things like
that? I do one-on-one coaching. Yeah. I do one-on-one healings. And that can all be arranged through my website at livinggodslight.com.
Yeah, amazing. I have no doubt you'll have some people reach out after listening to this today. Vinney, thank you so much. It was such a beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much, Guy. It's so nice to meet you, man. So thankful for what you do, because to me, you're another light worker. You're out there spreading the higher consciousness, the higher understandings, and giving people inspiration. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. It's not easy. I know it's not.
That. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Thank you so much, my man.
Thank you.